Hi, everybody. It's the fifth Wednesday of Easter, and it's time for another Wednesday Word. For this Wednesday Word, I want to begin with a little story about something that happened just this past weekend. I was here at the church getting ready for our Saturday afternoon service, and when I walked into the sanctuary at about 2:15 in the afternoon, it was about 78 degrees here in the church. That makes sense. There was no reason to have the building be cooled down for no one before then. But I came into the sanctuary and I went over to the thermostat here and turned on the air conditioning, and then I went back to my office to do some continuing preparation for the service that was going to start at 4 o'clock. When I walked back in at about 3:20 or so, the temperature had actually gone up to 79 degrees. And by the time worship was about to begin, we were barreling up toward 80. It would be 80 degrees in the room by the time we finished with worship. In my conversations with folks in advance of the service, I apologized for the fact that things didn't seem to be working properly, and I mentioned out loud that perhaps given the discomfort in the room, it would be a good idea for me to not wear the traditional robe and stole that I wear when I'm leading worship. But then I got distracted, or rather I went into autopilot. And I went into the back room here behind the sanctuary, and I did what I always do. Stuck my microphone pack in my pocket and wired it up over my ear, grabbed my robe and threw it on, grabbed my stole and put it over my shoulders, and then I came out and began to conduct worship. It was clear very quickly into the service that that was not a good decision. And yet, the stubborn me who'd come out wearing the robe and the stole refused to do what I needed to do to make myself more comfortable and finish leading worship without the robe on. I'm not telling you this story mainly to give you a reason to laugh at me. Heaven knows there are enough reasons for that already. But to talk about the dangers of getting stuck in a rut, the dangers of doing the same thing because you've always done it that way. Danger might be a strong word, but there are real pitfalls to just going on autopilot as I did. To going back to that room and unthinkingly putting on my robe and my stole, and then coming out here and leading worship in obvious discomfort. Things got so bad that I actually cut a few liturgical corners during that service, which you should know me well enough by now to understand that that's not something that I do. If I'd been aware enough to remember what I'd said out loud and not step out into the worship space without that robe on, or if I'd been humble enough or less stubborn and gone to the back at an appropriate time in the service and changed out of the robe, I could have led worship in a way that was not only more comfortable for me, but better for the people for whom I was leading worship. But I got into my head, and I didn't do what I should have done to make sure that I was leading worship faithfully and well for the people who showed up on Saturday afternoon. I don't think I'm the only one who has this problem. Sometimes even when we can name a problem or name a solution to a problem that we're dealing with, it's just so easy for us to fall back into our old normal patterns. It's so easy for us to keep doing things the way we've been doing them because that's what we know, even if we understand up here that it's not working or that there's a better way to do it. We might even already understand what that better way is and still persist in doing what we always have. It's a struggle to make space for the new in our lives while not just jettisoning the old. But it's a struggle to which all of us are called, because we live this life of faith and discipleship in a world that is always changing around us. And though there are constants that we need to hold on to, things that are vital to our understanding of who we are and what God is calling us to be and do in the world, Sometimes we can do those things, offer those services, perform those acts of discipleship in a way that better meets the changed environment in which we find ourselves. I could have better led that service if I'd been willing to ditch the robe just for one afternoon and been aware enough of my own needs and the needs of the people that I was ministering to in that moment to make that decision. In the same way, I invite you as individuals and as a community to be open to the ways that things might need to shift and change in the weeks and months to come so that you can continue to be the faithful, active congregation that you are, but to do so in a way that meets the new moment in which you find yourselves. I offer to you on this Wednesday my hope for God's blessing to be poured out richly upon you. As a Franciscan, I offer you peace and everything good. I hope that you're safe and well, and I look forward to seeing you again next week for my final Wednesday word. Until then, take care and be well.